Right, well, where do you even start with that? Norwich City 2, Wrexham 3. I kind of wanted to try and think about what I was going to say before pressing record, but it feels like there isn't really much point in the sense of I don't think my emotions are going to change. I don't think my thoughts with that beautiful thing we call time, I don't think they're going to change. Norwich City are at the moment absolutely nowhere near good enough. And it's, for me, it's a cause for concern. There is that combined element of, I think, a slightly more level-headed opinion will be given by myself and Adam and whoever we bring on for the podcast during the week. But at the moment, having just got back from Carrow Road, I am very, very concerned about where Norwich City are going this season. Some serious questions of the current management, but not just the management, the players as well. Some serious questions need to be asked. That was absolutely nowhere near good enough. That is not anything like how you want to see Norwich City playing in the Championship. I mean, before the season started and even in these early few games, there's almost talk of the playoff as if it's a rite of passage for Norwich. And I mean, based off today, but also this season as a whole, they've looked absolutely nowhere near it. I'm really worried. I don't think I have it in me to pick out individual names at this point. As a collective, they just look completely aimless. There's no direction, there's no personality, there's no identity to how they play football at the moment. And I do not and have not seen evidence of that changing. The opportunity that today presented, especially after being absolutely peppered by Coventry last week, was, look, can we, after getting a decent point on the road in a game where Norwich's backs were up against the wall, you look at this game and actually you might have picked Wrexham out of the whole lot so far this season to have wanted to have played, if I can even get my words out properly, you'd have picked Wrexham out because, like us, they leak goals, and you think, right, here is Norwich's chance to get 3 points, but not just that, score some goals and hopefully convince a lot of Carrow Road that they should be hopeful this season. Quite the opposite has happened. I mean, let's look at both the halves. The first half, obviously nowhere near as bad as that second one, but on the ball, there's no inspiration. When Norwich City are in possession of the football, like when Topic has got the ball, when Maatsen had the ball, there's nothing in front of them. I've seen the tweets of Horseshoe Manning. That was in full effect today. There's no options, and we can talk about the fact that Norwich City do have that, I don't want to call it abundance anymore, but they do have that individual quality. Norwich City do have good footballers, but what is the point if there is no system, if there is no structure? I don't know. It's deeply worrying. That is as bad as I've seen Norwich play at Carrow Road in quite some time. And the reason I think it's hitting as hard as it is because actually I don't know where Norwich City go from here. I'm not quite at the levels of like pure rage towards Manning that I had for someone like Dean Smith, for example, but I cannot pick any element of Norwich's game at the moment as something to be hopeful about. There's no, I mean, even Thorpe at his worst last season, yeah, the goals were scored, and actually on the ball, even at their worst, in periods of the game, there were nice moves. That really isn't the case today. And again, that first half really didn't fill me with much hope. It was a very different first half compared to what we'd seen against Middlesbrough and against Millwall, in the sense of the first 30 minutes of those two other games at home in the league, Norwich had a lot of the ball and almost were trying to knock down a fairly rigid defence, whereas this time around Wrexham looked far more comfortable on the ball and Norwich looked nervous and like they didn't really know what they're doing. And the game wasn't flipped on its head sort of from about the 35th minute, but Norwich started to attack a little bit more. Jurasek had some nice little touches and was starting to, put a little bit of personality into it. And that goal from Stacey was a really nice finish. And again, you get to half time and you think, right, let's not completely reset, but you've got this opportunity in front of you where you've got 45 behind you. You can almost see what Wrexham are trying to do. They're trying to absorb a little bit of pressure. They're trying to just hit those long balls to Kiefer Moore. I thought Medic and Darling were doing an okay job of dealing with him. Big Vlad made, I think it was 2 fairly big saves. And you've got the opportunity at half-time to think, right, Wrexham have got to come out and attack this game. How can we take advantage of that? Do we do it by holding onto the ball and baiting the press and playing through them that way? Do we go a little bit more direct? Do we just try and do something? The answer was no. If you could describe how you would not want that second half to go, what happened is exactly it. Conceding less than a minute into the second half, the defending was absolutely pathetic. Conceding a goal like that. I mean, I sat there at my half-time pie and I was just sat there like, what's just happened? And the worrying part is the defence had the same reaction. They're on the pitch playing the game. I'm sat eating my pie and no one knows what's going on. And then after that, the heads go down just like I've not seen for quite some time. The heads are down. Carrow Road begins to turn again. And you know what? I do not begrudge it for turning at all. I do not hold it against Carrow Road that the heads, from a fan perspective, just thought, right, well, here we go again. Because it very much was a case of here we go again. And that second goal, I haven't seen it back. I don't really want to watch it back. Just soft. Soft is the word. I like. We were peddled this idea of pragmatism, weren't we, for Liam Manning, and Ben Napper gave us that direction of, hang on, we're going to move away from Thorpe, who's very rigid in his free-flowing attacking point of view. We were told with Manning we had someone who knew the division. We had someone who's going to be a little bit more pragmatic. Norwich City are going to be more well-rounded. There is one thing consistent between the teams, and that is no one knows what they're doing. And it's deeply concerning, and it showed for all 3 of the goals. All 3 of those goals, Norwich City did not have a clue what they're doing. I mean, you can, copy and paste the point from the Coventry game. They just seem to like letting crosses in. And you've got Kiefer Moore in the box, and what is his game? Like, everyone in the stadium can see it. Cross the ball into this massive bloke, no matter how good he is, the law of whatevers. I mean, the head's completely gone. The law of probability. The law of probability tells you that at some point something's going to happen. And by Norwich just being so passive in the fullback positions, that third goal happens. And the heads are down again. And I think Topic ran and picked the ball up and sort of took it to the centre circle. And then that was about it in terms of urgency. Him going and meandering towards the centre circle with the ball in his hand, that was it for urgency. Norwich City then decided, all right, that's it. We're just going to knock the ball around really slowly. The second goal is just a joke. It's Liam Gibbs having a pot shot, the goalie just spilling. And the goalie made an error. And Makama, I'm pleased for him as an individual that he scored. But that's about it. I mean, Diallo on the wing, he looks like he's unsure of what to do. And in the first half, he really frustrated me because he got into great positions. He got the ball 2 or 3 times on that left wing, and he just kind of refused to drive down the line. Maybe that's not his game. And he just put some terrible crosses in to no one. And that was the theme. Medic in the second half, there was a position, he sort of got into, I don't even know what you'd call it. He got into the midfield third, and he'd be quite central, and he'd just almost curl this weird ball into the box that would be quite flat. And it happened 3, 4, 5, 6 times. And you're looking at it thinking, what the hell is anyone thinking here? And the fullbacks weren't providing any width. Cordoba in left back. I mean, I know Norwich are injury hit in that position at the moment, but Cordoba in left back is never a recipe for success, especially at home where you're going to want more of the ball. But yeah, I don't know where Norwich City go from here. I'm desperate to avoid bigger picture stuff in the sense of peddling the Manning out thing. But if I see it, I'm not going to be surprised. Will I feel like I have to speak against it? No, I really I'm just so disappointed. And I think for Ben Napper now to speak to that larger point, I would imagine he's getting quite nervous because this is now the second manager he's hired. And the points I highlighted earlier of we were promised something better than what we had seen last season, something more resilient, something, as I said, more well-rounded. we're seeing the complete opposite. Norwich City this time last season were nowhere near as bad as what they're looking this far. And do you know what, right? I appreciate that we have new players. I appreciate we've got new management. But for what we've been promised as fans by the hierarchy, it could not be any more disappointing than what it has been. At home now, 3 losses in a row. It's not good. If you want to achieve anything, you've got to get the home fans on board. And Norwich City fans, I understand that Liam Manning and all the players that we've signed haven't been here for the past 5, 6, 7 years. But Carrow Road, since before COVID, has really not been a particularly pleasant place to be. Norwich City fans, we've had good games. We've seen some great goals. But when you look at the bigger picture, it's bleak. It's really bleak. And the question is, stick or twist? What do you do? The answer will be stick. They will stick. I, as a football fan who loves drama, you almost want that sacking to happen because, I mean, what would follow? Jesus Christ, who knows? But equally, you can't let it get to a point where the season is just over. We were all celebrating, weren't we? Josh Sargent staying and how brilliant and how remarkable a piece of business that was. We were all celebrating the money that they had spent, and we were all celebrating the fact that we'd been given, I can't just keep sitting here and describing Liam Manning, but we had been given that profile of coach. And it's just very quickly, this season is just, it will get away from Norwich. The stats made for unpleasant reading from the small sample size of this season so far. And all that is happening is those concerning underlying numbers are coming to fruition. And we are very quickly watching a team become stagnant. I can take defeats, right? I can take defeats and we had it last season before the wheels really came off, where you can see identity. You can actually pick out where Norwich City are going wrong. You can, we've had it before under, like Daniel Farke, for example. You go back as far as that, but also with Thorup, you can see the way Norwich are trying to play, and actually what they're doing is they're failing at what they're trying to do. Like, someone tell me in the comments, what are Norwich trying to do at the moment? Like, what is the plan? There's no plan going forward. You can't, for example, when Harry Darling gets the ball in left centre back, there's nothing. What are you expecting to happen? Same for Medic, same for the fullbacks, same for the central midfielders. Norwich looks so light in the middle. What is anyone doing when we get the ball in certain positions? Who's making what run to try and create some sort of spark? There's nothing. And the worst part of today, as I've mentioned, is just the heads. Everyone was looking at their feet. Everyone went full Ange Postecoglou in a post-match interview after losing. They would not look up. And I don't want to criticise players individually, but you look at the triple substitution, Makama, Schwartau and Gibbs, and as for a team that has spent the money that Norwich has spent, and you just don't feel particularly inspired, do you? I don't know. It feels like I could just go around in circles for this. The game and the result and the stats of the game feel almost irrelevant because, well, not entirely irrelevant, but it feels that way because the attitude is what are the players thinking at this point? Like, at what point does someone have to ask the question of what are you trying to do? What are we trying to achieve? And how do you fix it? How do you fix the way Norwich City are playing at the moment? Because Liam Manning has had enough time to give Norwich City fans and his players as well a flavour of what to expect and what they're trying to do. How do you fix that? How do you fix players who go out onto a pitch and look completely clueless? Like, do you just rip everything up that you tried to bring to the club and try and start again and try and figure it out there and then? Because if you try that, you're not going to get in the playoffs. Yeah, the head's gone. The head is firmly gone, but I'm sure it'll be back screwed on by the time me and Adam sit down to do a podcast during the week. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Good luck putting a positive spin on it, if that's your goal. I'd love for someone to try it. I'd love for something to hang on to. I'm interested to see the media narrative now and how much time we are expected to give before we see what we just keep seeing, which is the people bringing out the pitchforks and gunning for a manager to be sacked. It's interesting to think about at what point we cross that threshold. I can't imagine we're too far away from it, but yeah, we'll talk about it in more detail during the week. If you enjoyed the video, I don't know if it's even possible to enjoy this kind of video, give it a thumbs up. Thank you to everyone who's subscribed so far. We are on the road to 100. Thanks to everyone who subscribed. Thanks for the comments recently on the podcast as well. Yeah, and see you in the next one.